All right. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. I'm Andy, and welcome to this week's Team Kentucky Update. We have some really big news this week, but we always start these updates with positive economic development news. So on Tuesday, I was in this rotunda hosting a unique and exciting groundbreaking. I was excited to join Frankfort Mayor Lane Wilkerson, Franklin County Judge Executive Michael Mueller, and Secretary Jim Gray, local commissioners and magistrates, and others to celebrate the groundbreaking of the paddocks of Frankfort. This $150 million mixed-use development project is the largest in Frankfort and Franklin County history. And what's pretty exciting about this project for people like me who live here is it's bringing a Target to Frankfort. The project is expected to directly support 1,085 jobs and $28 million in annual wages. The development is also projected to create 1,732 construction jobs. Frankfort is a special place filled with special people. It's the city my family calls home. This groundbreaking was the biggest of its type ever in Franklin County, and we were excited to see the economic impact that it and others are making. Now, for today's big news. Today we're here for some really positive and exciting and encouraging news to share about our fight against addiction in the Commonwealth. For decades, opioids and other dangerous drugs have caused pain, heartbreak, and loss across Kentucky and across the nation. Too many lives, too many children of God have been lost to substance abuse. At this point, all of us in this state have lost somebody. Most of us have lost multiple people to a fatal overdose. That's why my administration has made fighting this epidemic a top priority. Today we are releasing the 2023 Kentucky Drug Overdose Fatality Report, which shows that overdose deaths in the Commonwealth have decreased for a second year in a row. And this year, with the work of so many people here and across the Commonwealth, we are seeing a nearly 10% decrease in deaths from 2023 compared to 2022. The rotunda is filled today with people from treatment, recovery, law enforcement, those that have provided Narcan statewide, those that work in city, county, and state governments, and you have all worked so hard for years and years, not always being able to see or to know the moment that shows that your work is truly mattering statewide, statistically. Well, that day is here. Your fight for the inches that become the feet, that become the miles of progress, is saving lives and saving it at a higher rate than the rest of the country. While we're celebrating more lives saved, the sad fact is we still lost 1,984 Kentuckians to a fatal overdose last year. Each of those is a child of God missed by their family and their community, and regardless of the tough times that they may have gone through, any choices somebody may have been made, they are loved and they are missed. And we have to make sure that this happens to fewer and fewer Kentuckians. My heart goes out to the family and the friends of those that were lost this last year, and we recognize that even while we celebrate progress, there's a lot of heartbreak and pain because of this epidemic that continues. Look, this is still far too many lives that have been lost, and we still have a long way to go. But celebrating success, celebrating doing better, celebrating having a better year is what gives us the strength to do even more, to push even harder, and to show up each day ready to fight just as hard for the next person that needs our help as the last person that needed our help. Some of the most dangerous drugs are still out there taking the most lives. In this last year, fentanyl accounted for 79.1%. and methamphetamine accounted for 55.2% of overdose deaths. The report also indicates that 35 to 44-year-olds had the highest number of drug overdose deaths in 2023 at 571 lives lost, though that was 13.4% less for that age demographic than 2022. And while our state saw a smaller increase in this report, there continues to be a concerning trend of increased overdose deaths among Black Kentuckians. In this report, there was a 5% increase. That is unacceptable, while we are seeing an overall 10% decrease. But if there is good news, even in a tough statistic, that was down from a 22% jump in 2022, meaning that the increase is lessening and lessening significantly. But it does say that we have to continue to act intentionally, that we have to refuse to say any increase is okay and instead ensure that every demographic, every single one of any kind in Kentucky, sees the type of success that we're talking about in our overall numbers. We are committed to working with community partners and leaders, especially in our Black communities, to reverse this trend, and we are going to use recently received grant funding through our core program to increase education and outreach efforts. I also want to note that Kentucky not only saw a decrease in overdose deaths in 2022, that 2023 was better than 2022. Some of the best news of this report is how much better we were than the rest of the country. The United States saw a decrease of overdose deaths of 3% last year, but you know what? That's the first time in a while we've seen that for our entire country, and we're excited for that. It's been since 2018 that our country could report a decrease in drug overdose deaths, but think about that and what it says about your work in this community in Kentucky, when nationally the decrease was 3%, and here it was almost 10. You look back at 2022, and Kentucky was one of only 8 states in the country with a significant decrease in overdose deaths. That was 5%. We rightfully celebrated it. And this last year, we did almost twice as good. Today's news follows a long list of positive actions that we have taken with so many people in this room. And let me tell you, when I'm asked what has led to this, it's everything. It's all of the work of everyone in this room and across the state who have fought so hard, who have created new facilities that have been there for our people in need. It's our first responders who do a better job every year of bringing people back, because the answer to how many times you ought to revive someone who's overdosing is every single time that is somebody's loved one. You know, just recently, we announced that Kentucky's counter-drug program has helped save lives by supporting the seizure of 265,170 fentanyl pills and 208.3 pounds of fentanyl during the 2023 federal fiscal year. As you all know, that's enough to kill every single Kentuckian, and they were able to pull this off the streets. The group also supported the seizure of 822 pounds of methamphetamines and made 164 arrests, and we want to recognize the important role of law enforcement in this fight that we wage every day to save lives in Kentucky. I'm proud that this year we got the official study from a Tennessee university that Kentucky leads the country in residential drug and alcohol treatment beds per capita. It's not even close. We have more beds, more opportunities than any other state in the country. Thank you all who have helped make that happen. And we have recorded the 3 lowest recidivism rates the state has seen in over a decade. That's the work of second chance employment. That's the work of drug treatment. It's the focus on second chances here in Kentucky. So we recently announced a new website called secondchance.ky.gov that helps Kentuckians go to one place to find services such as getting a job, more education, or continued recovery. It also connects business leaders that want to step up and do the right thing and be that next second chance employer. And with more second chance employers than ever before, we want to encourage even more. Let's thank our second chance employers for the good work they do. Earlier this year, we also announced that FindHelpNowKY.org, which has been doing good work for so long, is now the one-stop place where Kentuckians can find naloxone, addiction treatment, recovering houses, and mental health resources. At the beginning of the year, we launched the innovative Recovery Ready Communities programs. These counties are supporting treatment and recovery in a big way, in a holistic way. And now we have experts that certify them, that give them extra advice to make sure that these communities are doing it as well as anyone in the country. So far, we've had 10 counties certified, and I'm proud to say that those 10 counties have helped more than 750,000 Kentuckians. Last year, the state supported the distribution of more than 160,000 doses of Narcan. We helped nearly 15,000 individuals access treatment and recovery through the Treatment Access Program, where we help those without health insurance get the help they need. I think it was last year when we could officially say that the ability to pay is no longer an obstacle to treatment. We can get any Kentuckian who needs help in treatment virtually immediately. What a long way we have come together over this last decade. As we know this, But as we know, this work is never ending, and there are still more holes that we have to fill. And so we look for the next challenge and the way we do our current work better, and I know everyone filling this rotunda does the same every single day. Let me say this, I'm really proud of y'all. I mean, you're saving lives all over Kentucky. You've been responsible for saving the life of someone's son or daughter, someone's mother or father, someone's close friend. You can't quantify that, though we're proud of the statistics that are out there. What you do is special and important. We are grateful, and we need you to keep doing it and do even more of it in the future. So with us today is Van Ingram, Executive Director of the Office of Drug Control Policy. Executive Director Ingram has led the office since 2004, and he's here to provide some additional details about our progress.
Thank you, Governor. Excited about this announcement today, but it's really the best announcement we've had in such a long time. But the Target thing, my wife and I got really excited about that. But this is a lot better. We are excited about the significant reduction in overdose deaths. But there's no one agency or no one group of people that can claim ownership of this success. It's people all over this state. It's public health workers, it's EMS workers, it's advocates, it's syringe service programs, it's so many things that I get to see happening in this state at every corner. There are dedicated people fighting this in their community. The governor mentioned Recovery Ready Communities. We launched that program in January of 23. We couldn't keep up to get all the applications processed. I challenged us to get 10 more in 2024. We're going to surpass that, Governor. And they don't get anything for doing this. All the thing communities get is that bragging right of we're a recovery ready community. And that's enough for our communities in Kentucky because they want that designation. I want to take just a minute and thank the Kentucky Injury Prevention Research Center. Where's that team? There you are. They do an amazing job with this report. They analyze and collect all the data, make it for an old policeman like me to make sense of it, and really educate us. Not only do they prepare this report, but every month they give us a briefing on where we are with EMS runs, with hospital admissions, with ER visits, and with overdose fatalities. So thank you, and join me in thanking the Kentucky Injury Prevention Research Center. Of course, their work wouldn't be possible without the Office of Vital Statistics, the Kentucky Medical Examiner's Office, our coroners, and our state and local police. As the governor mentioned, fentanyl is what's driving this crisis. If we can ever get a handle on that, I think the success we can have is unbelievable. But with nearly 80% of all deaths involving fentanyl, it's easy to see where our challenge lies. I do believe the distribution of Narcan that the governor mentioned was huge in 2023, and I hope we can distribute even more than that 160,000 units coming in 2024. I want to mention Operation Unite and our statewide call center that they operate for us. Nearly 4,000 people in 2023 called and said, I need help. I have an addiction. I need help. And the folks that work there are so compassionate and so patient and help so many people find the help they need. So thank you, Jamie, Tom, appreciate all that you all do. Join me in thanking them, please. So in the last 4 fiscal years, Office of Drug Control Policy has been blessed to distribute $131 million for treatment, recovery efforts, and prevention efforts, and we hope to keep that continuing. I want to mention 8338-KY-HELP is the call center. Push that number out for me as much as you possibly can. I try to mention it every chance I have because that's a great resource and we want people to use it. The governor mentioned Find Help Now, Find Recovery Housing Now. Please Google Find Naloxone Now. We're trying to get up in Google's algorithms. So if everybody goes on there today and does it at least once a day, we'll get up to top. There's a lot to be excited about today, but there's a lot of work yet to do. And I know all of you are committed as I am that we're going to do the work, and we're going to bring these numbers down and continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think Van made a pretty important point there, is with the work of everyone in Kentucky, we saw a 10% decrease despite facing the deadliest drugs that the world has ever seen. That means the work that's going on is you're working that much harder to not only see this decrease, but to see it despite the drugs that are out there. We also have Amanda Peters, Director of the Northern Kentucky Office of Drug Control Policy with us. Amanda helped lead Recovery Ready certification process for Northern Kentucky. Amanda, would you join us for a few words? Or more than a few. Congratulations.
Good afternoon. Thank you to Governor Beshear for inviting me today to share the outstanding work of Northern Kentucky and SUD response. We are proud to be the first region in Kentucky to receive the Recovery Ready Communities designation. This process has served as a blueprint to assess our recovery-oriented system of care and allowed us to celebrate our many achievements across our region. I have learned over the years that if you are up to date in public health, you are behind. And this systematic approach to revisit and reevaluate our continuum of care has and will continue to make significant impact. Northern Kentucky has embraced evidence-based and quality treatment with transitions in St. Elizabeth Journey to Care, Journey Recovery Center, and many of our other partners. We have expanded harm reduction and naloxone distribution through our health department and my office. We have formed a regional reentry hub with Life Learning Center because you cannot talk about recovery and not talk about reentry. Reentry, thank you. Thank you. Reentry is crucial to building recovery capital, and I must express my gratitude to the legislature and Governor Beshear for investing in this important aspect of our care continuum. This programming that will expand across the Commonwealth will provide more opportunities to those who deserve it most. We all know that not one person, one organization, or one system can tackle this issue alone, and my Northern Kentucky partners are committed to this work every day, and we have hard conversations asking what we can do to be more of a recovery-ready community. We are also grateful to our local governments and our judges' executives who support and are engaged in this work and allow so many of us to do this and make an impact, especially myself. I am often asked why I do this tireless work, and it's simple. It matters. It matters to so many people. There is not one person in Kentucky that this does not affect indirectly or directly. Personally, I know what it's like to be a child of a long-term incarcerated parent. Mental health and substance use disorders affected my everyday life. It was turbulent, and unpredictable, but it made me resilient, resourceful, and uniquely positioned to do this work and make an impact on families just like mine. And I hope it matters to all of you, because when we champion recovery, we change the health and economic outcomes of not only our regions, but the great state, and more importantly, we are saving lives and changing family trees. Thank you.
As Amanda was talking, I was looking at this full rotunda thinking if this were 10 years ago, we might have 5 or 6 people in here. And today we not only have advocates and the cabinet that would have been here back then, the Cabinet for Health and Family Services, we're joined by the Justice Cabinet today. Think about the statement that that makes and what we're doing and having everybody truly on board. Next up, we're going to hear from Commissioner Dr. Katie Marks. I can't be like Governor Dr. Andy Beshear. That's pretty impressive. Dr. Marks, unless a Juris Doctor counts. Dr. Marks leads our Department of Behavioral Health Development and Intellectual Disabilities, which works with recovery centers and treatment providers to ensure that the services provided are the best available. And if you know Dr. Marks, you know she earned that doctorate, and both the intelligence, the work ethic that she brings to her work. Dr. Marks.
We hold this space every year because it's our collective reflection. It's our map of where we're seeing progress, meaningful reductions year over year in certain populations and in demographics. It's our memorial to our loved ones. It's a charge of where we must continue to do better, and it's an opportunity to talk about how the landscape of risk is changing over time in our state. And as you heard, contamination of stimulants, methamphetamine and cocaine continue to challenge us, and Black Kentuckians' overdose death rate continues to be disproportionate. But this insight is really important, the progress and the challenges, because it shapes the complexity and the intricacy of how our response continues to evolve. A system of care, really a system of caring that we have developed as Team Kentucky. And I'm so proud of the numerous strategies that we have all employed and continue to innovate. We are leading the country, not just in our progress in overdose deaths, but how we approach as a community our understanding of a comprehensive system of care. Prevention among youth by building protective factors like connection and help seeking and reducing risk factors like adverse childhood experiences. Safer prescribing of medication as well as safe storage and disposal. Life-saving naloxone, we can't say it enough. We give over 13,000 kits away each month in this state, and we will continue to increase that number. And funding our health departments to increase their capacity for communities to grow in their work in the harm reduction space. And we have to and are continuing to invest in the strategies that empower people towards health, in allowing and funding local communities to shape their response based on the needs they see day in and day out. We're fighting back against the stigma that perpetuates shame and isolation. Unshame Kentucky is our state's anti-stigma campaign, and in the past 6 months alone, it's had 2.8 million video views of Kentuckians sharing their stories. As you've heard, we've dramatically grown our capacity for quality and evidence-based treatment. We've lowered barriers to finding that help through those resources like Find Help Now and Find Naloxone web pages. And we're lifting financial barriers to life-saving treatments. And so important in this work that we keep talking about, we're supporting long-term recovery, expanding quality recovery housing, funding an established network of recovery community centers across the state, and supporting education and transformational employment. Know this, we are steeped in recovery in Kentucky. In fact, we know this because 7 in 10 adults who've experienced a substance use problem report being recovering or in recovery. Think about that, what that means in our state. And so with this hope, our commitment is to a recovery-driven system of caring for every Kentuckian and every community. Thank you.
We've got a lot of great advocates and organizations in the Rotunda today, some of which I met about 10 years ago, and I want to thank you for your service. Today, representing so much of our advocate service provider community is Tara Mosley Hyde, CEO of People Advocating Recovery. She is inspirational. She is powerful, and what I've learned is she never stops fighting to help people. She herself has been in recovery since 2011. And since being in recovery, Tara has worked to create a Kentucky that is safe and accepting of those in recovery. This is the least amount of stigma that I've ever seen in my life, and I know we have to do more. But just what we see across the Commonwealth, how many people in a community come out when we're opening a new recovery center means we are moving in the right direction. So Tara, we're so proud of you. Would you please come and say a few words?
How incredible is this? I want to say, first of all, thank you to the governor and the governor's office, Van Ingram with the Office of Drug Control Policy, and how incredible to have a voice here today as a member of the recovery community. And as I said, first and foremost, I am only a member of a very beautiful, large recovery community that is also present here today. So first, today we are recognizing an important milestone in the fight against opioid poisonings. I think it's important to point out the tireless work of our public service agencies, our public health agencies, our public safety agencies, and that collaboration, because we cannot do this alone. We have to come together. When I was invited to participate in this conversation, I invited some of our local friends, some of our statewide friends in our law enforcement agencies, some of our harm reduction, Kentucky Harm Reduction Coalition that is here present today. And how important is it that we can all bridge together and change this divide that has been surrounding substance use disorder for years. It's a beautiful opportunity to be here today. I can tell you firsthand that it can be difficult when facing a crisis to navigate the systems of power. I'm proud to work collaboratively with these structures to ensure that we give people the access to life-saving resources that our community needs and deserves. At People Advocating Recovery, we are incredibly proud to finally see some progress and a decline of opioid poisonings in our state overall. The work is not done. We still continue to see some increases, but one life lost to our community is a family that's impacted forever, and our community deserves better. We deserve better. And as Kentuckians, we can come together and create systemic change in our Commonwealth, but we have to come together. And we're doing that by this moment today, because we have voices in the room. All of us have voices in this room. As someone with 13 years of my recovery experience, I've learned, and I've never thought that I would be standing here next to our governor or participating in this sort of event and talking about my lived experience and sharing the challenges of navigating that system of power to getting access to care. But I'm doing it because I know that if I don't share my story and if I don't share what those challenges look like, that barrier will remain, and it will remain intact. And then the people that are coming behind me who are looking for recovery today will continue to hit that barrier, and we have to change that, and we start by these conversations. If we want to see change in the lives of our neighbors, we have to come together. I ask our community to do the same by sharing their story and be the change that you want to see in our community. Help us create systems of support and continue on the path of building a stronger Kentucky that thrives. And if you need help, give us a call. Thank you.
Finally, we're going to hear from Dr. Jody Jaggers, who works at the Kentucky Pharmacy Education and Research Foundation and as its Director of Pharmacy Public Health Programs. Dr. Jaggers is going to provide us a demonstration of how to use Narcan and tell us a little bit about the importance of this life-saving drug. This is one of the most important tools in our fight against this epidemic. As Attorney General, I've seen it firsthand. Traveling one day with someone in the car in front of us that overdosed, helping to pull him from that vehicle and watching life drain from his face as he had stopped breathing. I saw Lexington EMS administer Narcan effectively, and I saw him come back to life. It is so important. And while I served as Attorney General, I worked to hold drug manufacturers like Teva accountable for their role in fueling the drug crisis, and that work is paying off. In October, our current Attorney General announced that Teva has agreed to pay more than $71 million over 13 years and provide more than 23,000 units of naloxone, also known as Narcan, for distribution in Kentucky annually. That's really good work done by the AG's office. See, when we do this right, it's not red or blue. It's about saving people's lives and moving our families forward. So I'm proud that we just joined the Office of the Attorney General and the Kentucky Pharmacists Association and announced that nearly 8,000 of these doses arrived at 5 distribution centers across the Commonwealth. So now we'd love to hear from Dr. Jaggers.
I'm encouraged by this year's reduction in overdose deaths, and I'm grateful for everyone in here and across the state for the work that they're doing, the hard work to save lives. And I'm reminded that there's no insignificant victories in this battle that we're fighting. 9.8% is not an abstract number. That represents 151 families whose loved ones still have a chance to recover and live the life for which they were created. And so that's something that we always need to put in perspective, these numbers. It's been mentioned already today by several people, but naloxone remains our most powerful tool to save lives. However, for naloxone to save the most lives, it has to be in the hands of individuals most likely to witness an overdose. You can't give yourself Narcan if you've overdosed, but you can be a hero. Anyone can save a life and be a hero by carrying and being willing to administer this very simple to use but profoundly effective product. And it really is as simple as just 3 steps. You peel the foil back on the device, you place it in the nostril, and you press the plunger. And that's it. It's not complicated. It's something that you could even teach a child to do. And I just want to remind everyone of how simple it is. You may also be aware that Narcan was approved for over-the-counter sales October of 2023. And in that time, there have been multiple generic formulations that have also received over-the-counter approval. And so we now have large drug chains or large pharmacy chains that have their own in-house brand of naloxone, and we have other just generic naloxones that are available. What does this mean? We're seeing the market do what the market's supposed to do, and this is providing much needed competition and price reductions, which is making naloxone even more accessible to Kentuckians, and specifically to our grants, which provide the majority of naloxone all across the state. You've also heard mentioned today our new website, findnaloxonenowky.org. And as Van mentioned earlier, we really appreciate it if you all would search it regularly to help it hit the top of Google's metrics. But findnaloxonenowky.org is a one-stop shop for Kentuckians to find low or no-cost naloxone in their communities. But it's more than that. On our site, you can find numerous printable education materials, links to other important education and recovery resources, and FAQs that answer many common questions about overdose prevention, recognition, and response. If you or your organization is interested in learning more about it, please visit our site, findnaloxonenowky.org. Thank you all.
We are glad that this community has been here today to help celebrate a nearly 10% decrease in overdose deaths and the second annual decrease. Thank you so much for your work. We're going to move on to some other announcements, exciting news going on in Kentucky. I recognize that folks here are busy. It's okay if you take off a little early while we're talking about the other pieces, but feel free to stick around if you'd like. We need all our speakers to stay because we know there's going to be questions at the end. I'll turn it over to the Lieutenant Governor for some more updates.
All right. Thank you, Governor. We're going to keep the good news going. The end of the Mountain Parkway expansion is in sight, which is great news for everybody. Yeah. A Federal Highway Administration review found that no significant environmental impacts will arise from the building of the final 13 miles of the project, the Magoffin-Floyd segment. It's the last remaining portion of the parkway that's not already under construction, and now we have the green light to move forward. We announced plans for this segment just a year and a half ago. It includes new cross-country route from Salyersville to Prestonsburg instead of expanding the current Kentucky 114 corridor, because this option has fewer disruptions and property impacts to homes and businesses. The Mountain Parkway expansion isn't just an investment in a road project, it is an investment in safety and opportunities for the people of Eastern Kentucky. This federal decision affirms our assessment that progress, people, and places are prioritized as we fulfill a commitment that is decades in the making. We are grateful for public input throughout the process as we create a safer connection between Eastern Kentucky and the rest of the Commonwealth, improve local communities, and ignite economic potential in one of the most beautiful places in our state. And we're going to keep it in Eastern Kentucky. I am pleased to announce that Kentucky is getting a combined $103 million in 2 programs to continue cleaning up hazards left by historic mining and to bring jobs back to Eastern Kentucky. The Department of the Interior, through the federal bipartisan infrastructure law, has awarded the Commonwealth more than $74 million. This money will be used to make people's lives better by fixing mine slides, putting out seam fires, and closing dangerous open portals. The funding will also be used to rebuild ailing water infrastructure and address water supply issues. This program has already done so much to protect Kentucky homes and make communities safer, and this new round of funding will allow us to get to areas that sorely need it. With previous grants, we have begun or completed more than 40 projects in 15 counties, totaling almost $45 million. I'm also pleased to announce that Kentucky has received a grant of more than $28 million to bring jobs and new businesses to Eastern Kentucky communities through the Abandoned Mine Lands Economic Revitalization Grant Program, also known as AMLR. AMLR was established to help coal-producing states recover from the downturn of the industry. This program has now awarded nearly $225 million to 86 projects in 25 Eastern Kentucky counties. And when completed, these projects are expected to create more than 3,000 new jobs across the region. This year's funding, by the way, will be given directly to Kentucky rather than being held by the federal government, which will help us significantly cut down the time that it takes to get those projects up and running. So for the contractors who are interested in working with us, you should visit eec.ky.gov/AML for more information. And more information about the AMLR program can also be found at the Energy and Environment Cabinet webpage. Thank you so much, and I'm going to turn it back over to Governor Beshear.
Next, we have an update of our continued steps to help families recover from the devastating flooding in July of 2022. Yesterday, I got to join one of our nonprofit building partners, the Housing Development Alliance. We were in Perry County for a special home dedication. This dedication marked the Housing Development Alliance's 100th flood survivor to receive a new home or a repaired home following the 2022 floods that devastated so many places in Eastern Kentucky. The homeowner is moving from an emergency management trailer that she and her 2 daughters have been living in for almost 20 months into a home where everyone will have their own bedroom. It was truly a great day to be with this family and the many more who are there that have been helped through this program. Leadership from the Public Protection Cabinet also attended a second home dedication on Wednesday in the town of Eastern. That home was built by the nonprofit builder Frontier Housing and partially funded by the Team Eastern Kentucky Flood Relief Fund. To date, the fund has provided over $1.9 million for 25 homes. Those homes are in Floyd, Breathitt, Knott, Perry, Owsley, Martin, and Letcher counties. I also have a few updates on the 7 high ground communities that we're building. Work on each site is preparing them for occupancy. In Letcher County, the cottages at Thompson Branch has almost all infrastructure in place, and 2 homes are already on site. Work continues at the site with 8 additional homes being built in partnership with Homes, Inc. Altogether, 10 homes will be available for flood survivors at Thompson Branch. At the 4-acre site in Floyd County, formerly owned by the Wayland Volunteer Fire Department, 11 homes are getting interior and exterior finishes, and families are preparing to move into the newly constructed homes in June or July. This project is the quickest to occupancy, and it's in partnership with the Appalachia Service Project. Also in Floyd County, New Hope Estates has partnered with Mountain Housing to construct 33 new homes and rehab 1 home to assist flood survivors. Engineering is ongoing and a groundbreaking is expected this summer. At Chestnut Ridge in Knott County, ground assessments and environmental reviews are complete. Water and sewer and road designs are complete. Water and sewer line installation is starting now, actually. They're digging the trenches. And the first section of the access road will begin in June. There are 2 parts of this project, one being done by a nonprofit, one being done by the state with other partners. You are going to see a ton of homes coming up in Knott County on this site, especially late fall, and it's going to have space for hundreds of homes. Back in Letcher County at Grandview, the ground assessment review is complete and an environmental review is underway. Funding applications for water and sewer projects are being submitted to the U.S. Department of Agriculture Disaster Relief. In Perry County at Skyview, ground assessment and environmental reviews are complete. We have rehabbed a bridge to get heavy equipment over to it. The access road is under construction, and we believe we could have homes also coming up there in the fall. We believe that on Skyview alone, we could have over 1,000 Kentuckians living there in about 1.5 to 2 years. 1,000 Kentuckians in a brand new neighborhood. That's more than a step. That is a solution, especially for families who deserve it so much. And at Olive Branch in Knott County, ground assessments and environmental reviews are complete, and the right-of-way plans are in development for the initial road access. So we also have an exciting partnership to announce today. FAHI, formerly known as the Federation of Housing Enterprises, is partnering with Team Kentucky as we recover from these floods. In March, I announced the city of Jackson will use over $2 million to build 8 homes, really important because it's hard to find a separate high ground area in Breathitt County right now. Next Thursday, there's an event in Jackson to learn more about the project and to start the application process for home buyers. We're expected to break ground on the project within the next 30 days. FAHI is helping with application intake and supporting local governments in the process. We have a video from a great local leader, Jackson Mayor Laura Thomas, talking about this partnership. Before you start it, I still remember calling during the flooding. We thought that a dam was going to break that could flood a larger part of Jackson, and she was out there herself, along with the state police, trying to go door to door in a place that could have been heavily flooded at any minute to try to get our people to safety. This is a real special mayor.
Good afternoon, Governor Beshear. I'm happy to hear that the Commonwealth has contracted with FAHI to support local government as we work toward housing development and recovery. As you know, Breathitt County and City of Jackson were devastated in both 21 and 22 by the historic flooding. We are in a housing crisis. Our infrastructure is old, and we need many projects to help in this recovery effort. FAHI has the resources, they have the expertise to help with housing. We would not be doing the current project that you recently announced if it were not for FAHI. They know housing. And we also appreciate our partnership with Housing Development Alliance, our Area Development District, and the good folks at DLG who have taken our many questions and helped guide us through the necessary requirements and guidelines of the grants. So, thanks again, and good luck to FAHI. I know they'll do a great job helping us help our citizens here in Eastern Kentucky. Thanks, and have a great day.
Today, we're also joined by Pam Johnson, Senior VP of Partnerships and Programs at FAHI. Pam, would you come share a few words with us? Good to see you.
Good to see you. Good afternoon. I'm honored to be here today to represent FAHI. This is a special day for us. This is a great opportunity for us to be able to partner with Team Kentucky, with our friends at Department for Local Government, and more importantly, we get to get back out on the ground in Eastern Kentucky, where we've been working for over 40 years. But now we are going to be working in partnership with the Commonwealth, Team Kentucky, Department for Local Government, and our local communities, our judges, our mayors. We will be part of the solution as we move forward to recover and become a more resilient, stronger Eastern Kentucky. Thank you all so much for this opportunity. Governor, thank you.
Always. For those who are interested in this, please visit housingcan'twait.org and fill out the interest questionnaire. A FAHI representative will get in touch with you. In total, Housing Can't Wait partners have now built 63 new homes and rehabbed 270 homes in Eastern Kentucky. Today, I also have an update on our response to storms we experienced over the Memorial Day weekend. The National Weather Service of Paducah recently announced the combined tornado paths on May 26th that produced a record-shattering total for the region. We have now confirmed that on May 26th, 15 tornadoes touched down across Kentucky. Their path of destruction covered 162.42 miles, and they stretched across 19 counties. Sadly, we lost 5 Kentuckians. Again, 5 children of God whose families are still grieving. I'm proud to announce that through $50,000 in private donations, the funeral costs for those families will be covered. I want to thank the anonymous, we can clap for them. I want to thank the anonymous donor who gave $40,000, which will be administered through the nonprofit Cadence Clause, and the Kentucky Distillers Association, which gave an additional $10,000. Thanks to their generosity, these families will have one less thing to worry about as they navigate their grief and try to figure out how to rebuild. On the day after the storm, along with Director of Emergency Management Eric Gibson and leadership from the Kentucky National Guard, I visited a number of areas that have been impacted. What we saw was devastation, grief, and exhaustion. But we also saw resiliency, including in the town of Barnsley that had been hit for the second time in the exact same location. Every home we approached, there were neighbors helping neighbors, whole church congregations that had turned out to help some of their parishioners, people who had shown up and never met the homeowner, doing everything they could to help them. Pennyroyal State Park immediately stepped up, opening its doors just hours after the event, taking in survivors, reminding us in this 100th anniversary for our state parks how important they are in our times of great difficulty. Some of the individuals that showed up there had lost power while others had lost everything. As of today, they are still helping to shelter 9 families consisting of 38 Kentuckians. Barren River State Park is also helping to shelter a family of 2. Staff from Kentucky Emergency Management and FEMA have already begun assessing damages in many impacted counties to determine if this event will be eligible for a federal declaration. I believe that it will certainly qualify for public assistance, and I believe it is very likely to qualify for individual assistance. But as of today, that application has not been able to be made because you have to bring in all the information. So, speaking of federal declarations and trying to clear up something that's out there, we did receive a federal declaration for individual assistance for residents affected by the April 2nd, 2024 storms. So the news that's been out there right now, that thankfully the media is getting out, about different FEMA centers and disaster recovery centers that are being set up where you can apply for individual assistance, those are for the April 2nd, 2024 storms. If you were impacted by the Memorial Weekend storms, we need you to document it. We need you to turn it over to your local EM director, and that's what we will use to collate that information to make those applications, and then we hope to receive that individual assistance, at which time we will open similar disaster recovery centers in those counties that you can come in and get that help. So again, the disaster recovery centers and the individual assistance that's currently being reported on is for the April 2nd, 2024 storms. We will be applying for the Memorial Day weekend storms and hope to have good news in the future where we could open similar facilities. So, for Kentuckians that have damage following the April 2nd severe storms, the counties that qualified were Boyd, Carter, Fayette, Greenup, Henry, Jefferson, Jessamine, Mason, Oldham, Union, and Whitley counties. You may be eligible for federal aid. Survivors can apply for assistance in several ways: online, through disasterassistance.gov, through the phone calling FEMA at 800-621-3362, using the FEMA app, or visiting a disaster recovery center. As of this morning, FEMA has processed 252 applications in the 11 declared counties and thus far dispersed $278,000 in individual assistance. We currently have 3 disaster recovery centers. They're in Boyd, Henry, and Fayette counties, with more to come. We have detail on each of these centers on the slide that you see. And in these centers, the Small Business Association has representatives, and they've opened 2 business recovery centers for the first time ever after disaster and recovery. They are in Jefferson and Jessamine counties. The Small Business Association offers low-interest disaster loans to small businesses, nonprofit organizations, homeowners, and renters. Their business recovery centers are open for those in the 11 counties that we just mentioned, and they're ready to meet with staff and learn how they can help with a survivor's needs. Listen, I know that this is difficult. We're talking about a July 2022 flood that we are still rebuilding from. Then those early April storms that were bad enough where we qualified for individual assistance. And since then, we had the storms over Memorial Day that killed 5 Kentuckians. But I promise you this, we will never get tired. The people that were harmed in this latest storm deserve our help just as much as those that have been harmed in previous storms. We are going to give every bit of effort to help you out. And finally, I want to take a moment to honor the 80th anniversary of D-Day. 80 years ago on D-Day, freedom prevailed, and today we pay tribute to those who fought and those who paid the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom. We are the home of the free because of the brave. And today is the time to honor and uplift those heroes that are still with us. You all make us proud for your bravery and for stepping up to serve our country in one of its greatest times of need. Today, we are recommitted to being worthy of those sacrifices of all our service members and their families made that day, and we recommit ourselves to honoring all of our armed forces and their heroes. Let's keep working to be worthy of their sacrifice. And so today, in a day where to be worthy of their sacrifices, we've shown that we're helping more people than we would have lost in the past. We're going to have 2 Team Kentucky All-Stars. All of our D-Day veterans, including those that are still with us and those that have been lost, as well as everyone in this treatment and recovery community. What people ask of us is that we create a better life for their families, their grandkids, their great-grandkids, and thank you for doing that. How about for these heroes? All right, we'll open it up for questions because we're in the rotunda. We'll do it old school. So, Tom.
Thank you, Governor. At the Fellow Frankfurt
Frankfurt's very happy about Target. Yeah, we want to make sure that we do even better in 2024 than we did in 2023. And while we have programs, and we will have more programs, and we will continue to work our programs, I just want to note that everybody in here that works in that space has new programs every year too. They do things differently. They open new facilities. They try new methods, and for that we are really grateful, and we see you and we recognize you. As you notice, these last couple of years, we always look for those gaps, whether it's in transportation, in certain areas of the state, in ability to pay, and we are going to continue to do that. So it's important that we give every bit of effort to continue recovery-ready communities, find naloxone, now KY, and all of those other pieces. We need more recovery housing, which while we have a current program, we need more of it. We need more second chance employers that are out there, and we'll always be looking for that next great idea, knowing that we can always do this better. Anybody else? I'm happy to call on people too. Oh, yes. Karen Czar asks, what is the best advice for people who are helping a loved one or guiding them through recovery? Tara, why don't you give us some thoughts on that one?
Absolutely. So first and foremost, make sure that you have access to all harm reduction supplies, first and foremost. So check out the naloxone, Find Naloxone Now. Also identify local resources in your community. There are really great websites and links that we've talked about today, like Find Help Now Kentucky, and then also Van Ingram's call center to identify what those resources are to make sure that you can get the support that you need, the level of care that your family member needs, and love on them. Because they need love, they need compassion, they need understanding, and they need help. And depending on where they are in their life, maybe they need residential care, maybe they need outpatient, maybe they just need therapy. But loving them is not an option.
Yeah. Yeah, we have to do more. It is unacceptable to have any disproportionate impact. And at a time when we've seen overall overdoses go down 10%, to see a 5% increase in our African American population is not okay. If there is a silver lining, it moved from 20% increase the year before to 5%, but it has to get to zero or negative in these coming years. You see a group here today. I think a lot of it is about additional local partnerships. It's listening to people within the community. It's supporting programs that have been proven that work, and making sure that we are intentional, that we recognize that this is a challenge. And again, there's a lot of success here, but this is a failing. And we have to be as intentional as we can be and put resources where they need to be the most. If you look in the report, you ought to draw your own conclusions. Some of the it appears that the drugs that are in different communities can be driving some of it too. But at the end of the day, that should not be an excuse whatsoever. We absolutely have to do better, and I want to make sure that does not get lost in today's announcement. Yes, Alex. Well, thanks, Sarah. I may turn that to Van if we still have him. I know we have a number of programs potentially in the pipeline, but I do think we cannot lose momentum on things like recovery-ready communities and maybe even recovery-ready neighborhoods where we ensure that we have the very best services. We can't stop on Narcan and naloxone, and we have to continue to increase it. But Van, I'll turn it over to you.
I have to apologize. I was over here and didn't hear the question. Yeah, we're doing everything we can think of to get over that hump. The governor has challenged us with reentry as something he really wants to focus on in the next 3 years. And so many of our folks that come out of jails and prisons are in no better shape than the day they walked in. That's not right. We got to do a better job of addressing people's needs as they come from incarceration. You know, they're 5 times more likely to die of a drug overdose in those initial days of coming out of incarceration. So that's going to be a real focus for us in the next 3 years.
So one of those programs that we're working on is Jobs on Day One. The idea that you could have employment the very first day that you leave incarceration after having that different treatment, and if you need it, learning a skill. We've had partnerships with a couple of our prisons with our unions. Kentucky State University, using that Pell Grant program, has been pretty incredible in getting people associate's degrees and others in multiple of our institutions. And I want to say again, not all these ideas come from us. Kentucky State University brought that to us, and it's a great program. Do you have a question?
Thank you, Governor Beshear, for acknowledging the increase in overdose death rate in the Black community and indigenous and other communities of color. I really appreciate that. I guess what I'm looking for is, and I appreciate you saying that your expectation with the funds is that they are used strategically within those communities. I appreciate hearing that too. Are we also factoring in the youth that have lost their lives? Because I get it, we're talking about unintentional overdoses. When a child dies from poisoning, fentanyl poisoning, it's not considered an overdose. So those numbers are not factored in, correct? Okay.
They are factored in?
They're factored into that 5%?
Yes. This is the group that does the study.
That's why.
Yeah. That's the source. Come on, do you want to? Okay. Do you all want to talk directly after?
Yeah, because the reason why I'm asking that
Yeah.
is because, and I see that the numbers, the percent that you shared is now the final percent from last year, right? That 22
Yeah.
that you shared. So that was the final from that for the previous year.
From 23, yes.
20, yes. So I'm just speaking out of true concern.
Yeah.
Because this epidemic is
Yeah.
killing people who look like me.
Yeah.
And I cannot sit comfortably in
Yeah.
any space and not really press the fact that I am
You-
really working with families who feel like they're forgotten or they're invisible. So
Well, let's make sure before you leave, you got the sources of the study, you got the head of the office, the right here. Make sure that we have you directly connected with everyone, because you deserve a decrease too. You do. And we're going to work to make that happen. And you know what our goal should be next year? We see that. And we're all here to celebrate that. But even then, we gotta get a bigger and a bigger and a bigger decrease. So thank you. Yeah. Good. All right. Thank you all very much. Everybody have a good day.